Welcome to our review of the recent update of the BMW 7 Series. Let's go. Indeed, when you see this one here for the very first time, and especially on the first pictures or so, it looks so massive, and it is massive, this new double kidney. However, if you see it here in real terms, then you somehow get used to it, and then you see it still does somehow fit to the vehicle. They have not only put the double kidney bigger, but also the whole front grille is 5 centimeters higher, by the way, that the proportions do work. And you can see here this, this falling structure inside those fins. It also matches directly the line of those headlamps that come with adaptive LED standard and optional with this BMW laser light, then with 600 meters high beam range or limited 300 meters in the US due to regulations. This is the long wheelbase version, the G12 with 5 meters 24, 206 inches or 17 foot 2. The internal code G11 stands for the short wheelbase version, that then would be 5 inch shorter or 14 centimeters shorter. This long wheelbase version is the standard version for the 7 Series for the USA. We have 20 inch rims. Those ones are the biggest ones that are available. Pretty massive, but they definitely fit to the vehicle. If you want a little bit more comfort, you can also go for a little bit smaller rims. But then again, this car features air suspension as standard, so that does even out that pretty much. Slight change to the tail lamps right there, and they're very sculptural, also with a 3D effect. They really stand out just a little bit. And a chrome strip right across the vehicle. The 750 Li, the L stands again for the long wheelbase version. Then in the lower part, those exhaust tips here, the outer part is just cosmetic. Real exhaust are on the inside. And we'll soon also on the interior see how this 530 liters of boot capacity will play out. This one is the normal unchanged one. The plug-in hybrid will have a little bit less. The advantage of this big computer, like here I always call it that way, you could see if the windows are closed, if the doors are closed and so on, the range. But I always also prefer the slimmer one that is also available or is also coming as a secondary key when you pick the big one. So keyless entry, of course, also available. Put your finger here to close it, put your hand in there to open, and solid door closing sound. And there should also be a soft close. There we go. This is also an option. Interior overview. You have this infotainment screen in 10.25 inch and digital instruments in 12.3 inch. Always comes like this. And again, you see this symmetric design. You've also seen that the door entry caps. I really like that this one mirrors the lower part right here, and it forms one unit right there. Interesting also as for the climate unit, it is somehow digital. You have those knobs still, and it's very good to control. Also a pretty thick knob still for today's cars, but while driving it's so easy to control that then. And then you have those screens. They look pretty fancy also for the seat heating and the seat cooling, which can be activated at the same time for a wet winter day, for example. Oh, there's also this perfume button for the ionization. Then, first of all, ionization, and then you can add some, perfume here if you like. But I rather like to keep it clean in the interior also as for the scent. So what's happening in this top area here? First of all, my favorite BMW wing lights at the top part right there. Still like this feature. And then there's a nice fabric cover here for the panoramic roof in the front. So open it and you maybe see those small dots, and it's also better visible in the studio episode because those ones are illuminated from the side, and then those dots are illuminated at night and form a star ceiling, so to say. I'm a very important businessman. That's why I'm here. So let's begin here with the top roof. There we go, to open it. It has the same illumination than in the front. So at night there goes the LED light from the side and then will illuminate those small dots. That's very beautiful. And then I've set this co-driver seat at the moment to the driver's seat length. So this is the legroom you still have when tall people are sitting in the front. This one, however, is still the long wheelbase version. Our friends in the US will always get this one. In Europe, the standard 7 Series is the short wheelbase version that will then have like a legroom just like this. So yeah, again, the package is bad in this vehicle. So considering the length of the vehicle, it's not so much legroom you have, but of course in the long wheelbase version, there's ample of legroom. Then there's an additional control here. So you can leave it in there like this and do the same things all over again, or also change the climate comfort. But you can also put it out like this. There's also this small device that helps you getting it out, and then you can also change the interior lighting here with the ambient light and so on, change the color of the ambient light. There's, by the way, also this new massive interior light. It's only activated at night, so you can hardly see it right now. I wonder, well, that should be very bright and also while driving. Then this one here today is the 4.4 liter V8, 530 horsepower, 3.9 seconds is the acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. I've been using this here in the X7, in the X5, in the 8 Series Coupe, in the 8 Series Convertible. And well, so far, in those SUVs, consumption was always about like 14 liters on 100 kilometers, and that's about 17 mpg US, 20 mpg UK. So yes, it does consume a lot of fuel. You just have to be aware of that. Those 6 cylinders are more fuel saving, because also for the 7 Series you can get the 3 liter inline 6 cylinder single turbo, 340 horsepower. That is then the 740i. Again, this one here, the V8 750i, 740i, then the 6 cylinder. And with the 6 cylinder petrol engine, had about 9 liters on 100 kilometers consumption here with the 7 Series. So that's about 20 mpg US then. So a little bit better, I think, considering the size of the car, you can also live with that. And now a look at the plug-in hybrid. As I said, now a 6 cylinder instead of a 4 cylinder. You can also see it in this visual graphic right there. All the orange components you see in the background are the ones that belong to the electric drive system. Here the 745e, 394 horsepower output from a total system and 50 kilometers of pure electric range. And that's also quite realistic. We can also open this box. They will recharge it, again 3.6 kilowatt, and it takes about 4 hours then to recharge it completely. But again, plug-in hybrid, when you plug it in overnight or so, it's full the next day anyway. So let's imagine I'm going into this, we shouldn't imagine it, I'm going into this basement garage. I already activate the camera system. So I see, for example, I have the front camera. I can also, actually I want to see the factory view from above. So I go to reverse gear first, then I see it. So now I go to the normal drive gear again, so I can see left and right and I don't damage those wheels. Those big sedans have the disadvantage that you don't have the best overview of where exactly the wheels are ending. So you have to be aware of that. So now I go into here, and first of all is fine. And suddenly, oh, there's a BMW 3 Series blocking my way, and there's no way I can turn around. So what do I do now? And put in reverse gear, and it would be quite a hassle to go backwards here out of this basement garage ramp now for me. So, but if I have this option, I can go for the reversing assistant. By the way, you can also see the ambient lighting now a little bit better when it's dark. Reversing assistant. And now the car takes over the steering wheel. Also see those blue LEDs flashing here now. I just go off the brake a little bit, and then I can actually adjust the speed by that. And now the car remembered the last few meters I was going, in here, and steers back the very same way I was going in front. It's a little bit scary. I still watch those wheels at the side and so on, but it works quite flawlessly. It's really amazing. And again, it's definitely easier than you would do it yourself. And here we go. This one here, the hump in the road, and wow, this air suspension is evening that out really very well. I love that air suspension setup here. Even if there are some fierce potholes in the road, I was driving around a little bit, and then I didn't realize there was a pothole, and I said, oh wow, that was a big hole actually, and the air suspension evened it out that well that I didn't really realize how steep it actually was. So that was very well done. So now we go on further, and this V8 gives me a lot of confidence, so I don't have to hammer it all the way. That's not really necessary. Even if you drive it slowly, you feel that there's big displacement. You can just gently play with the throttle, and it's totally fine power-wise. That's, I think, one of the cool things. And again, the consumption is definitely very high. And again, you have a lot of power, of course, when you really want to have it, when you release all that power. Again, I think it is nice to drive, and yes, it is more fun to drive than these smaller engines. However, you always have to think about, is it worth this higher consumption figure? And if you think about, just economic reasons and all the ecological reasons, then I think it's not really worth. And also the extra price. The V8 is really high in the price. And now we drive the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid. And as you can hear, you hear nothing. So this is also one of the biggest advantages. You just start silently and thinking of, your neighborhood in the morning or so. That's pretty cool. You can also set the car in the menu up in a way that the electric only drive is always the standard at startup. It's not the real standard from Works. That would be the hybrid drive, but you can just change it in the menu. And I think I would definitely do that. So if I would go for the plug-in hybrid, I always want to start pure electric. You can, accelerate, significantly, and you can also press the throttle a little bit further, and you still stay in the electric mode, and it still gives you some decent acceleration. So that's totally fine. And only if you surpass this point where you feel it really in your foot, where there's some resistance in the throttle then you would get to the combustion engine mode. So let me drop back just once more and show it to you. And now when I floor it out, took a while. Maybe you could pick it up. I mean, the engine is really silent in here. It's very well insulated from the cabin. But just then after, a second and a half, the combustion engine went on and then also gave me some additional power. And let's just see when we are in the hybrid mode, now also in way up, and we yeah, now for example, I did not have to floor it out. Already like quarter to halfway of the throttle input, the combustion engine set in. And that's all the things they tune with the software nowadays. I think it's good that you have the choice here as a driver, and sometimes those driving modes are really complicated. If you have like 5, 6, 7 different driving modes, like battery hold there, battery charge half, battery charge full, whatever. I think it's good when you have like this one EV mode and then the hybrid mode, and that's it. There are some more possibilities here. For example, this battery control mode. This is then that the battery loading is being kept that way, and the reason for that is you might think about you're on a motorway and you say, oh, I'm approaching this city where they have the new emissions law that you can only enter with electric vehicles. Let's just imagine that. Or I mean, London would be an example where already something like this is happening, where certain vehicles are more cost intensive than others to use. And you might say, you save the electric drive for later. That's not really the efficient way to do that, but that might be needed. Or you want to say, I don't want to wake up my neighbors. I'm going to go golfing with them tomorrow, so I don't want to have them hating on me. So you maybe pass their houses a little bit more silently. That would maybe be another argument. The biggest change is, of course, the front double kidney. Really in a big style, you can argue about that. I think when you see the car in reality here now, it doesn't look that massive as it would be just on the first pictures. So I think it does somehow fit to the vehicle. It's also their top of the lineup car, together now with the BMW X7 that also receives this huge double kidney. Other than that, of course, pretty comfortable in the interior. The package again is not that good, so you could have more space considering the length of the vehicle, but since this is especially the long wheelbase version and also standard 7 Series in the US, of course you still have ample of space left. You have to decide about that. The only thing they lack is more animal-friendly materials in the interior. As for driving, the V8 is sure a pleasure to drive, but the consumption is very high. The new plug-in hybrid would be an alternative. I think the 3-liter 6-cylinder is also a little bit more fitting. It's more right sizing also together here for this size of the vehicle together with the plug-in hybrid, and it's also a pretty good engine overall. Interesting with the new added range. So this could be an alternative for someone who has the charging possibility at home or at work or both and can do the daily commuting than pure electric. And also if you don't need so much trunk space, because the plug-in hybrid definitely limits the height there in the trunk. So what do you think? Of course, especially for European customers, the diesel is still very interesting because it's a very efficient one, especially here with the BMWs and really low than in consumption. That could also play a role if you're especially traveling long ways with that vehicles. So, what do you think? Let's discuss the new 7 Series right there here on Autogefühl. And please also tune in next time.